Now, what kind of a zap would that put on your head? Without further ado, please welcome the one and only Robert Kiyosaki.
Morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I want to thank Pat and Ed Griffin because I read Ed's book years and years ago, and it was just a piece of the puzzle. I look at life as kind of putting the pieces of the puzzles of life together. So when I read his book, I said, that is a great man. And I've had the opportunity to speak with Ed and on different occasions and all that, but every time I've been around he and Pat, I've always learned something new, another way of seeing life. And so when he called and he says, we're doing this thing called the Red Pill Expo, I had no idea what he was talking about. I never saw the movie, and I thought it was about a show about medicine. So, and not being a former Marine, we're not known for our intelligence and wit. So I had no idea what I was coming to. So I adjusted my schedule, and I had to make a few adjustments because if Ed Griffin's going to be there and the other speakers are going to be here, I want to be here. And I want to be here to learn like you guys are. How many people heard the term out-of-the-box thinking? Okay, well, we're out of the box right now, so that's why we're here. But anyway, the biggest adjustment I had to make was that I come to Montana about once a year. I've been coming here for about 10 years in the great state of Montana. And I come here because I have an extermination business. And I come here to shoot gophers. I know there's some, my wife is anti-hunting, so I don't send her pictures of my little gophers, But it's a fabulous state, big sky is incredible. I was over by Chinook to look at the Nez Perce and the Chief Joseph Memorial. As a former Marine, I love what Chief Joseph said. I will fight no more forever. And as a Marine, we're trained to kill. The mission is we travel away to faraway places, meet nice people, and we kill them. And I've had the opportunity to kill a lot of people. And one day it was just enough. So, as the saying goes, ethically, I could kill them. The last time I got close to killing somebody was a little boy, about 10 years old. And he was a Viet Cong sapper. Put a satchel charge in my aircraft. And I caught him. The definition of ethics is you follow a professional code. Moral is spiritual code. So ethically, but then morally I couldn't do it. And my days were over. And my days as a Marine were over too. So I came back to the States to get spit on, yelled at. What the hell did I fight for? And at that point, I decided not to kill anymore, but put my efforts into other endeavors. So I'm honored to be here. Like I said, I had no idea what I was getting into, but when I heard Holly Swanson call the school system a bunch of communists, I knew I was at home. So anyway, that's my way of saying I'm happy to be here, happy to talk to you, and I'll do my best to talk to you about what I teach today, because I am a teacher outside the system. There's an old Irish proverb that goes, If I knew where I was going to die, I wouldn't go there. And I died in school. I don't know what happened to me in school, but I hated it. My spirit died. You know, I just felt I was being punished constantly. So anyway, that's why when Holly said that, I was in the back of the room just cracking up, because when I came back from Vietnam in 1973, I made the really choice comment. Somebody asked me, what did I think? And the press and I don't get along either. So when the reporter says, what did I think? I said, well, if I wanted to kill commies, I'd just come back home to Hawaii and fire a couple of bursts. I'd hit more here, you know? So I don't know if you know this, but Hawaii, I'm not Republican, and I'm not Democrat, I'm not liberal, I'm not conservative. I'm a human being. You know, I like what I like, you know?
Woo!
So, what was I talking about? I just turned 70, so my mind's going.
No.
But anyway, I just don't know why we kill people. But I know it's inside our DNA. And so I'd just rather work on something else. So my question is this, let's start. How many people have read Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Thank you very much. Who has not yet read the book? Thank you. A few customers left. Because the story of when I came back from Vietnam, my poor dad, who was a PhD, he was head of education for the state of Hawaii, graduate of University of Hawaii in 2 years, took 4 years and 2 years, academic genius, went on to Stanford, Northwestern, and University of Chicago. Genius man, very good man. For Japanese, fairly tall, 6'4".
Whoa.
And very good man. But I call him my poor dad simply because, as you know, our school systems teach us very little, if anything, about money. And I always kind of wondered why. So when I was 9 years old, I was living on the Big Island of Hawaii, and I'm fourth generation Japanese American, and for some reason, the Asian kids were segregated from the white kids. And, but because of the way the boundaries were drawn, I was put in a rich white school. And so my classmates were all the guys whose parents owned the plantations. So I'm sitting in this little riverside school. All my classmates are rich white kids, and only a couple of Asian kids in the room. The other Asian kids were across the street at Union School. The reason it was called Union is because labor union. So I was kind of out of place in this rich white kid school, and they're all rich. So I raised my hand in the fourth grade, I'm 9 years old, and I said, you know, asked my teacher, said, when are we going to learn about money? Teacher goes, we don't teach money at school. And I felt like I was back in Sunday school, you know, where the love of money is the root of all evil. So I said, well, why don't we learn about money? She says, I don't know. She didn't know. So I want to learn about money. She said, no. You're supposed to go to school and get a job. Not an education, a job. It's brainwashing, you guys. Go to school and get a job. And I raised my hand again and said, well, what if I don't want a job? You know, I just want to get rich. I want to just skip the job part. I want to be like my rich friends. And she says, go ask your dad. He's my boss. So I go home and ask my dad, poor dad, PhD, stands for poor, helpless, and desperate. But he says, well, we don't teach money in school. And I said, why not? He says, because the government tells us what to teach. Now, for those of you sitting in the room, you already know that's a bad idea. And that's where my education began. So I want to know why in the world we don't teach kids about money. And I didn't know it at the time, but that became kind of my life's question. And I've spent my life putting pieces of the puzzle together, figuring it out. So back in about 2002, when I read Ed Griffin's book, there was another piece of the puzzle, so I can understand that now. Okay. And as Ed wrote, bailout is the name of the game. If you understand that, you got it. Okay. So that's how the rich get richer. They just screw the system. You and I bail them out. So I said, I get the picture now. So anyway, that was kind of it. So at 9 years old, my poor dad says, why don't you go talk to your best friend, Mike, who was my classmate. And Mike and I were the only kind of Asian kids in this class. And I said, why talk to Mike's? He said, go talk to Mike's father. And I said, why should I talk to Mike's father? He says, because Mike's father is an entrepreneur. And I said, and what are you? I'm an employee. And I said, what's the difference? He says, employees don't need to know about money. Entrepreneurs do. And that's the difference. So at the age of 9, I went to work for my rich dad for free. He refused to pay me. So here I'm a 9-year-old kid, and I had to work around his office for about an hour or so, or pick up weeds, or pick up cigarette butts and things like this. And for an hour, for free, and then he would teach me. Now my poor dad went nuts. How can I not pay you? And I go and ask my rich dad, I said, why am I not being paid? He says, because if I pay you, you think like an employee. You work for free, you'll be an entrepreneur. And that's the difference. I don't work for money. So you read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. The rich don't work for money. That's the story. That's how it starts and goes like this. So I played Monopoly. I'd work for free. And one day I asked my rich dad, I said, why the hell are we playing Monopoly? And he was really good. He said, move your dice here, you do this, you try that, this is what's happening. And he says, I said, well, why are we playing Monopoly? I thought you were teaching me about how to be rich. He says, I am. And I said, well, we're playing Monopoly. He says, I never thought you'd ask. I said, what do you mean? He says, in school, you don't ask. You just do as you're told. He says, if you want something in your life, you better ask. Don't do as you're told. It's brainwashing. Go to school, get a job. How many people were told to go to school and get a job? It's brainwashing. Work hard. How about this one? Save money. Losers. Whatever. Look, ladies and gentlemen, why would you save money when interest rates, which is the price of money, has been going down? You know, in some parts of the world, it's negative. U.S. is about 2%. Inflation is running at 5%. You're losing 3%. Plus, they print money. And I just read this article in one of these communist papers. I think it was New York Times. It said financial literacy is saving money. The people that will be wiped out, you know, how many people are expecting some cataclysmic crash pretty soon? You know? And the savers will be wiped out, unfortunately. Okay. Now, I'll get richer, hope you get richer. Because crashes is exactly as Ed Griffin's book said, bailout is the name of the game. You understand that one, you got a chance. Okay? So I'm not a Republican, not a Democrat. You know, I support the freedom of religion, or no choice of religion. You can do what you want. You can have any sex change you want, I don't really care. You know, stuff like this. Leave my money alone. Okay? So how many people were told to buy a house because it's an asset? What a stupid thing that is. How about get out of debt?
Yeah.
Oh my God. After 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, the dollar became debt. IOU from the government. It's worse than counterfeit money. Why why would you get out of debt? How about this one? Invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, mutual funds. It's all brainwashing. If you can understand that, I can continue on. If I've created some disturbance in your brain, I'm doing my job. But until you understand the reason there's no financial education in school, so they can inject that dogma into your brain. Go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, buy a house because it's an asset, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in a well-diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. Until that garbage is washed out of your head, you'll do as you're
Told.
How many people would like to listen further? Good, that's what I talked about. So anyway, when I asked my Richard, I said, why are we playing Monopoly? He says, because one of the great formulas, there's many ways you can get rich. You know, there's many ways to financial heaven. You know, hopefully it's legal, ethical, and moral. But if you do that, you can't be a politician. You know what I mean? You ever notice politicians enter office poor and retire millionaires?
Yeah.
This is Obama went, I'm not Republican or Democrat, but he is a Hawaiian like me. Or maybe from Kenya via Hawaii, or wherever he was from. I don't know where that boy is from, but the facts are he entered political office with $200,000 in student loan debt, and he's a multimillionaire today. You know, that's pretty interesting. You do it on what, $400,000 salary? It's interesting. So ladies and gentlemen, I feel I'm at home. I'm in the right place. For like the last, most of my life, this is what I talk about. Our school system is a communist organization. And they're good people, don't get me wrong. Okay? My whole family are communists. They just don't know it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remember I was out in Vietnam shooting commies, you know? And one day I said, Jesus, what's a commie? I didn't know. So I started studying Marx and all this. So you have the aristocracy, the bourgeois, and the proletariat. And my family are as bourgeois as they come, middle class. And they're not rich people. I have the lowest degree. I only have a bachelor's degree. Bachelor of Science. B.S. Many in my family have multiple masters. 2 have twin PhDs. They all work for the, and they all think they're smart. But they know jack about money. And as Harriet said yesterday, you love of my life, is Harriet here? When she says, all they care about is their job. There was no more truth than that. They all they care about is their job. And I don't blame them because they have no financial education. Okay? So that's kind of my background on all that. So Richard had said the greatest formula, one of the great formula in Monopoly is 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax deferred exchange, red hotel. And I said, so I'm 9 years old going, that's it? He goes, yeah. I said, well, where are your greenhouses? So he actually took his son and me out. It's in Hilo, Hawaii, and he had his greenhouses. Of course, my dad was a good man, but a communist. He called my rich dad a slumlord. And my rich dad says, I'm a low-income housing provider. Do you know what I mean? It's just points of view. That's all they are. So then I said, so these are your greenhouses, and what's going to happen next? He says, well, someday I'll have my red hotel. So 10 years later, I got 2 appointments, one to U.S. Naval Academy and one to U.S. Merchant Marine Academy in New York. I took the Merchant Marine Academy because Naval Academy comes out of the Department of Defense, and merchant marine comes out of commerce. So we're the highest paid graduates in the world. So when I was looking at Naval Academy or King's Point, they both wear their uniforms. But then the average pay for a Navy ensign was $2,000 a month. And when I graduated from Kings Point in '69, my classmates were making about $120,000 a year. And so there was a little bit of difference there. Not good at math, but I could count the zeros. So I took Kings Point, graduated, and the Vietnam War was on, and I was draft exempt. I got a great job, hired by Standard Oil of California, sailing out of San Francisco, the Communist Republic. And so I'm sailing on oil tankers out of California, and it haunts me, the war. It just haunts me. So I gave up my high-paying job, volunteered for the U.S. Marine Corps, which proved I didn't know much, and went to Pensacola, Florida, transitioned, went to Camp Pendleton, transitioned into the gunship, and straight to Vietnam. And it's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. And I went down 3 times, not because of gunfire, but because we were exhausted. Our aircraft were exhausted. Rusted, stealing parts, putting it together, kit flying. And that was one of the best decisions of my life. So I went from making thousands a month to 200 a month. And it's good. It was very, very good. So I come back to the States, and the next thing that changed, well, 2 things changed my life. One, I didn't want to shoot that boy. That was it. I was finished. The second thing was my rich dad sent me a letter saying, watch the price of gold. And I had no idea what he was talking about. And the gold at that time, it started around 35. By the time I got the letter, gold was pushing about 72. So I decided I was going to become a gold miner. And I'm reading the maps of Vietnam, and there was this little place that says gold mine. You can read maps. And only one problem, it was behind enemy lines. With being an entrepreneur, there was no risk too great for gold, So recruited my crew, we flew behind enemy lines, we go up to the gold dealer. All the Vietnamese people are saying, what the hell are these guys doing here? I'm like, hi. We're not here to kill, we're just here to do some business. My friend and I are looking at these little things of gold, and we're partners, we put $50 up each. And I said, is that gold? He looks at me and says, how would I know? I said, I thought you were the gold expert. He goes, no. It looks like a raisin, painted gold. I go, how do we know it's gold? He says, I don't know. I said, what kind of partner are you? So we start arguing. Partnership dissolved, and we come home. But the gold bug hit, and ever since then I've been buying gold, because I understand the dollar coming off the gold standard in 70. That's what I know. So that changed my mind about the future. And then I got back from Vietnam in '73, quite disillusioned. And my poor dad, the PhD, lost his job. He's 50 years old. And even though a PhD, he couldn't get a job. And the reason for that, my father is a very ethical and moral man. He could not stand the corruption in Hawaii. He could not work for the governor of Hawaii anymore. He says the man is connected to organized crime. And that was a huge charge. And there's a guy named Larry May Howe. He says, I refuse to do business with criminals. And the criminals were the police department in Hawaii. So the governor's a police officer, May Howe's ex-police. And there's a new book out called Sunny Sky, Shady Characters. I wish my dad was alive. Everything my dad said is true. The Supreme Court of Hawaii had to be let go for corruption. Over education. The Bishop Estate is one of the richest trusts in the world. And the federal Supreme Court justices were all in collusion. So ladies and gentlemen, that's not an isolated case, as we know. And my friend Donald Trump is doing his best right now to straighten all that out, but not looking good. So those are all changing points. I wrote this book here with President Trump. This is years ago. It's called Midas Touch. He's a very good man. Very, very good man. But he has the same problem I have. It's called foot and mouth disease. There's another book out. I brought this. There's a couple of copies. I didn't know what I was going to do here, but I have a couple of copies of this and a couple of copies of this. They're $10 each. I lost my wallet at TSA, so I need some money home. Another great book out that I recommend all of my friends read it. We're all entrepreneurs. It's White Working Class. Very, very important book. Please read this book. For you entrepreneurs or business leaders, just lay people, it's a very important book to read. And it describes why Trump beat Hillary. And it opened my eyes. And basically, the white working class are not the poor. The white working class are the millions and millions of people, almost invisible. We don't see them, they're checkout counters or clerks, they clean the rooms, or bartenders. They're the engine of the world. And Hillary called them deplorables. Wow. So what she writes about in this book is called the PME, Professional Managerial Elite. Obama, Trump, meant Obama and those guys. Trump is other side. So it explains why Trump beat him. And it's a very important book because there's too much hate today, ladies and gentlemen. There's too much hate. When you shoot somebody because they're a Republican, that's a mistake. Should be a Democrat. No, I So this book is not about hate to love. It's hate to respect. We need more respect today, ladies and gentlemen. So it's a very important book. And then there's this book here. It's called What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. It's written by one of those PME, Professional Managerial Elite. She's a professor and a medical doctor at Stanford University, and she analyzes the entrepreneurs program. And Stanford puts out some very good entrepreneurs. And she says the same thing. What she wished she knew when she was 20 was that she never took a paycheck. She found out that when you pay somebody, exactly as my rich dad refused to pay me, the moment you pay somebody, you suck their brain cells out. See, when you have no money, you get creative. And in the study she did with the Stanford, and these are the brightest kids in America or the world, when they thought about money, they were not successful. When they had no money, they made more money. So because my rich dad never paid me, I don't need money. That's why I don't care what the government does, because he can't mess with me. I have businesses all over the world. Sometimes this is mistaken. When I came back from Vietnam, I stopped being a patriot, but I became a citizen of the world. And instead of killing people, I now teach throughout the world. So that's the difference here. So please don't get upset if I say I don't really like saluting the flag or singing this song. I sound like I did that already. I want to work for the world today. And so I travel the world, I teach, I want to bring prosperity to the world, and I stay outside the school system. That's my mission, okay? So the mission of Rich Dad is to elevate the financial well-being of humanity, not the U.S., humanity. Give everybody a shot outside the school system. Okay? So yeah, that's basically what I do. Okay? Thank you.